Wow. The NHL trade deadline has come and gone. And while the local franchise wasn't all that busy, at least not doing anything other than piling up more and more draft picks, there was some significant movement. And it's amazing to me. It has always been amazing to me, even though I've spent a lifetime in this occupation covering sports, the amount of interest that this generates. Any sport, people are wrapped into this thing, and it begins like at sunrise. Who did what? Who said this? Who said what are the Leafs going to do? What are the Canadians going to do? What are the Penguins going to do? Well, the Penguins made their moves today. Nothing big. They traded Cody Glass to the Devils. They traded Luke Schenn to Winnipeg, and they traded Anthony Beauvillier to, where did Beauvillier go? To the Capitals. And all they got back was a bunch of draft picks, exchanging some minor league players and stuff like that. They now have 500 million picks in the next 3 drafts, 4 of them first rounders. And it's a day. And you want to know something? This is the kind of day it's going to be on Monday and Tuesday for NFL fans. It's actually, in a way, it's even bigger, because without trades, with just free agency, it's you get a player for nothing. You get somebody for nothing, and you can dream as big as you want. You could look at your team's cap space and you can say, oh, we can have anybody. If we really, really, really wanted to, we could have anybody. And it gets people super excited, and it gets them thinking probably irrational things. That's part of I guess you can call it a frenzy with this stuff. It's funny that even today, when Penguins fans had to know that this was what was going to be coming, was just a bunch of draft picks, everybody just gets so into this. I'm not 100% sure I've ever gotten it. I've never been that guy. Maybe it's because I've spent most of that time on this side of the fence where you're just working and you're making the phone calls and everything else here. But you guys are nuts with this stuff. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. Look, right now, Chris Halleck is up in Cranberry waiting for Kyle Dubas, the Penguins general manager, to come out, and he's going to join us because that session doesn't take place till 4:45. So Chris is going to come on with us right after this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
What's happening up there in Cranberry, Mr. Halleck? What's going on?
There's a lot of youth hockey games, just like a youth tournament going on here right now, and so it's fun to see some hockey going on. Big time. I'm a fan of the sport, so it's fun. It's fun to watch this stuff.
It's fun to pay attention to this stuff in general. I swear, if you weren't even into a league, like let's say for example Pittsburgh with the NBA. You would still probably get into the trade deadline, wouldn't you? Because you'd just be like, oh, they moved this guy or they moved that guy. It's like, whoa. Like I'm not going to take this stuff too far here, because I know that most of our audience for this particular show is Steelers. But Brad Marchand, I know, right?
Yeah.
Can you picture him not wearing a Boston sweater?
No, it's going to look really, really weird seeing him. But I already saw this one this Photoshop where he's in a Panther sweater. It looks weird. It looks weird.
No, it's actually not right. And then you see, and I know because you spent a big part of your life in Texas. You saw the move that the Stars made with Mikko Rantanen. Yeah. I mean, you know what the Stars are doing? The Stars are basically saying, "Here we go. Here we go." Okay, and then it was a message to Winnipeg, which is the team that's leading in the West. And the Jets had to kind of counter it. They kind of didn't. They added Brandon Tanev. They made the trade with the Penguins for Luke Schenn. Everybody in Winnipeg's all mad because look at the Stars. They want to win and the Jets don't and everything. But I think the winner might be coming out of the West this year, Chris.
Oh yeah, I've got a few buddies that are big time Stars fans back in Dallas, and they are stoked with the trade that happened today for sure, and to see that they gave up like 2 first-round picks and Stankoven's a really nice young player, but still like to get Rantanen for the 8 years, $12 million AAV, that's a heck of a trade for them, and they are just now loaded, especially once Heiskanen comes back.
He's goals in the bank too. I mean, that's exactly what he is. I mean, that guy, he's been finishing since he was born. No pun intended, because he's Finnish. If you don't know how this works, it's your show. You ask the questions, we answer them. And if you want to become a member and have preferential treatment in addition to supporting what it is that we do, go to dkps.net/join. Just take care of that. Angel comes in and says, the longer this deal takes with Justin Fields, the more worried I become. Should that be the case, Chris?
I don't think so. Again, you have until noon on Monday. This is what negotiations look like, especially when you have time. It's not like the clock's about to strike midnight. They still have the rest of today. As a matter of fact, it would not surprise me if the minute Kyle Dubas steps to the podium, that's whenever news is going to break that Justin Fields is re-signing. But
that's enough out of you.
but no, they've still got all the rest of today, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning to negotiate. And David Mulligeta is going to get everything he possibly can for his client. And if it is a situation in which Justin really does want to re-sign before free agency, he doesn't want to test the market, then there's still multiple days to try to go through this. So it's not time to panic about this just yet.
No, it's not. Brent says, hockey, I need to cancel my sub. Brent, all you're doing is telling on yourself, my man. You're just saying that you don't live in Pittsburgh. Okay? This city has become a hockey city in every single way. Don't do that to yourself. Okay? Remember that the first name of all 3 of our teams and the colors of all 3 of our teams is exactly the same. And no one else in the country has that. 3 teams, not 1. Egg says, should we worry about the deal not happening? Here's what I think as far as Justin is concerned. I think at some point or other, and I don't know that we've done enough of this, Chris, I think you have to look at it from his perspective. Meaning this, not the money, not the agent, because that's the stuff that we keep going over. What's his better situation in the NFL? Like, what's his optimal setting where he could go somewhere, either have somebody commit to him that he's the number 1 guy, or reasonably have him compete for number 1 and not have the team completely suck? What are those options for him?
There are not many, to be completely honest, because whenever you look around the league, there are a handful of teams that just don't need a quarterback. That's the Chiefs, the Bills, Bengals. You look through the teams that don't need a quarterback. Then there are other teams that, sure, they could probably upgrade a quarterback, but they're probably okay with who they have, and they're not going to make any kind of moves or anything like that. But then there are maybe 6 or 7 teams that are probably looking for a quarterback in a really crappy free agent class, so for lack of a better word. And so it's just where Justin has to look at his market. He has to look at what his situation. And when you look at the Jets, the Jets could be attractive in a certain way because they're going to be going through a new regime. Garrett Wilson's there, so he'd be reuniting with one of his college teammates, one of his college receivers. But when you look at what happened in Pittsburgh, the growth that he had, the fact that Arthur Smith wants to work with him, wants to tailor an offense around him, it's a good situation.
That's the part that I don't think also gets recognized nearly often enough, because you're looking at a situation where Justin had a full calendar year to become tight with the people in his offense, to learn their routes, to work with them in the offseason, in practices, to get to know who they are. If you think he wants or that he's eager to go and do that all over again, then you don't know how quarterbacks operate. Quarterbacks are all about repetition and studying the books and getting comfortable with people and chemistry and trust and faith from their coordinator. Arthur Smith is ready to go to battle with Justin Fields. He knows that, and that's absolutely going to be a factor in this. I can't stress that one strongly enough here. Mike comes in and asks, what do you think of the Jake Gensel trade tree now? What all came from the Jake trade? It didn't really change much, Mike. Think about it. I mean, you replaced Michael Bunting with Tommy. What the hell's his name?
I'm trying to remember now. Tommy something. Yeah,
I'm looking it up here, huh?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm looking it up here because he's making his debut for the team tonight. There's been Tommy Novak, the center, the 27-year-old that came from Nashville. That's the only thing that changed hands, and I'm going to continue to insist that the Jake trade has a long way to go to be resolved. You can't look at prospects and get excited about them when Jake's putting up 40 in the NHL. You just can't do it.
Yep.
We saw, Chris, you and I were marveling at what Jake was doing at Four Nations. I mean, he was one of the best players on the ice for any side.
Yeah, absolutely.
World class.
Yep. Jake Gensel is a world-class goal scorer. That's all he does. Just to see him not only earn a spot on the American team, on a loaded American team, but to get first-line minutes and to score the goals the way he did whenever you've got guys such as Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes and so many other really talented players. Yeah, Jake was – and so you watch that probably as a Penguins fan and think, man, I really still like to have him scoring goals on this team. And, you probably look at somebody like Sidney Crosby who'd like to be able to continue to play with a guy like that. He can continue to rack up assists. But still, man, there's a long way to go. I've covered teams before that have been in a rebuild, that have acquired prospects, and you can think in the moment that might be a good trade.
What a haul. Way to go. Look at the rankings and everything. It doesn't matter, man. Yep. Jake's in the only league that matters, and Jake's putting up a ton of offense. Preston Powell is one of several people in our live chat here to bring this up, that the Commanders released Jonathan Allen. And people are wondering, Chris, if the Steelers should be going after him. And that, in turn, of course, would free up a draft pick from this very defensive line-rich class. And I see about 5 mentions of Jonathan Allen for every one of Javon Hargrave, and that kind of surprises me a little bit. I mean, considering everybody knows Javon. But one way or another, wouldn't the Steelers be, and I'm not loading the question here for you. I legit just want to hear what you have to say. Wouldn't it behoove the Steelers to also get younger at that very, very, very important spot on the team, meaning go and get a draft pick?
Yeah, signing Jonathan Allen or Javon Hargrave should not deter the Steelers from still drafting from a very rich class of defensive tackles.
You're loading up here. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going, okay, let's put this in perspective here. Andy Weidel came from the Eagles, so he's got the influence of the way the Eagles like to build a team. You look at the Eagles, they just won the Super Bowl. The way that they're playing, they are loaded in the trenches. Now, the Steelers have spent a good amount of time and resources and draft picks on reloading the offensive line. Last year, there were 3 rookies that were slated to be starters on that offensive line. Obviously, Troy Fautanu couldn't start because couldn't play the majority of the season because of his injury. But when you go into this season, you're going to have 3 second-year guys, 1 third-year guy as 4 of your 5 starters. That's going to take time to develop. Defensive line, you have to start thinking about the future now. I understand Cam Hayward is coming off of an all-pro season, but he's 35. How many all-pro seasons does he have left in him? I'm not saying he can't do it at 36 or 37, but he is near the end of his career, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. Whether that's 2 years away, 3 years away, whatever it is, go get a guy now. Meanwhile, also continue to load up next to him, because you can improve. Because if Hayward were to go down right now, you're down to Keanu Benton and Larry Ogunjobi as your 2 starting interior defensive linemen, and that's just not going to cut it. Get loaded up in the defense in the trenches as you possibly can, because you can still. The Eagles just proved it. You can still win in the trenches in this league.
Now, Randy Wagner, a longtime friend of the show and a member. And by the way, you can become a member too. Go to dkps.net/join. You have to type it into your your web address at the top. Not now, obviously, you're watching the show, but when it's done, dkps.net/join. Randy asks both of us, the Steelers love building from the draft. What's your feeling on Tyler? How do you pronounce his last name?
I've been saying shock, almost like it's like SHOCK.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. We can look that up afterward. Does he appear to be? He's the old guy. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been calling him. He's 25 and he's draft eligible. He was in college for 7 years, and I guess he really found his groove in the 7th year. I'm sorry. I don't mean to see. The thing is Chris has seen these guys. He's gone to Mobile. He's gone to Indianapolis. I've been bouncing around with the hockey team and baseball and everything else here. And Chris likes him. So I'm not in too much of a position here to make fun of the 25-year-old. Plus, he's, by every account, he's ready to go, which he better be at that age.
Yeah, I think, and suggested here by Randy saying, if you were to re-sign Justin to be your starter and make Tyler Shock the backup, like your number 2, I think that's actually, like, of all the rookie quarterbacks, he's probably the most ready to handle a role like that, where if he has to go in, he's probably the most pro-ready guy. You're not drafting Jalen Milroe to be the number 2 guy behind Justin Fields. Milroe is just not ready to be that guy. If Fields were to go down in week 2 with some sort of lengthy injury and Milroe's your guy, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You're going to be, picking in the top 10 most likely. This won't be 2019 where you have Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges. This is going to be a guy who's going to be very volatile, if it's Jalen Milroe or somebody like that. Tyler Shock is the floor is at least higher with him. And he's got the arm talent, he's got the mobility and some other parts of his game in which he could end up becoming a pretty decent starter in the NFL. So, I think, and I've heard good things about him, so it's not just my opinion. When I hear good things from people I trust, I tend to believe those things. And so I think that's a good option, but I also wouldn't go too early either.
And one of the people who believes that is your Southside Beat partner on this channel, Matt Williamson, as some of our viewers are pointing out here. And by the way, not to keep sounding like a used car salesman here, but if you get the membership, tkps.net/join, it covers all of our channels. It covers the Ramon Foster show, the Scout's Eye with Matt Williamson, Southside Beat with Chris and Matt. It's across the board, and all of those are going to have exclusive material at some point. And again, you'll also be supporting the cause here. Egg says, will Justin Fields follow the path of Le'Veon Bell? On one hand, it's an insulting question, not so much at Justin, but at David Mulugheta, who is an infinitely more accomplished agent than Lev's guy, who was the worst. The guy had some terrible ideas and tried very hard to put terrible ideas in place. And he committed not one ultimate sin, but both ultimate sins as an agent. He cost his client money, and he cost his clients a big portion of a productive career. Other than that, though, well done. Hope you enjoyed the 10%, dude.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
The answer is a very, very gigantic difference in quality of agent. David Mulugheta is one of the best agents in the game right now. He consistently gets his clients awesome contracts, but it's not asking for stupid money. Getting Jordan Love 4 years for $220 million is not absolutely ridiculous. He knows what he's doing. He's a good agent. Doesn't mean he's perfect. Like I said, T. Higgins fired him because it just didn't work, because he wanted Higgins to go down a certain path and he didn't agree. And so Higgins moved on and went and found somebody else. But, no agent bats 1,000. But overall, he is a phenomenal agent compared to what Le'Veon Bell had.
Yeah, it's not even interesting here. Angel says, I love the idea of double dipping at defensive tackle with the first 2 picks. Oh, now we're going nuts here.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, now we're getting Jonathan Allen, we're getting Javon Hargrave, and we're getting the top 2 picks putting on the defensive line. The Steelers are going to have an 8-man defensive front flanked by edge rushers, and it'll just be Minka 700 yards off the line for the rest of the defense. We're going to take just a couple more today. Carl says, hey, DK, if the Steelers are bent on old school football, why the love for new age a new age quarterback like Fields, I truly think Flacco or even Ryan Tannehill would be better for what the game plan is. Carl, you respectfully here, like a lot of people mistake whenever the Steelers are talking about power football, they think that that's Franco and Rocky. Okay. And it's not. It's not. It's not a matter of just powering through people with a single predictable formation and everything. You still need a lot of moving parts. You still need a lot of options. And when you have, and you are blessed to have, I should word it, a quarterback who can get out of there and who can be a threat unto himself and who can finish the season with 600, 700 yards of his own on the ground, you know what that does for your actual power game, your actual old school football? And here comes Chris to tell you what that does for play action.
Well, yeah, I mean, play action, it opens up the passing game. I mean, I love play action. But no, like I agree with the stance that, like, people hear running the football and hear the Steelers want to be a run first team and think that there's some sort of ancient idea or ancient strategy, and it's just not, because when you look at all the top running teams this past season, a lot of those teams were playoff teams. A lot of the teams that were top 10 in rushing were in the playoffs and went deep into the playoffs. We're talking the Eagles, we're talking the Ravens, these are good teams at running the football. Running the way I've been putting it, running the football is cool again. That's the best way that I can put it. Mm-hmm. And so if you get a quarterback that can add to that on the ground, and Justin Fields is one of 3 quarterbacks in NFL history to run for 1,000 yards in a season, yeah, that can really help you in that light as well.
Last one for today, and it's a good one, even though it's kind of a yes or no question. And Mike Williams, is he going to have a job this year? Why do we not talk about the possibility that Williams could come back? Is it just because, for whatever reason, they didn't utilize him, or do you believe them that they didn't utilize him just because he hadn't, gotten on the moving train or whatever? I have a tough time with this one, because the craziest part was when you watched Williams make catches in a Steelers helmet. They were really, really good stuff. I mean, he wasn't just getting some 7-yarders and going down. He was making some outstanding plays. He showed, I think, that he still has that. Maybe part of the issue is whether or not he can also be, special teams or stuff like that. But I liked what I saw, which was very little.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule out any kind of reunion, but I think the Steelers have they need to shoot for the stars a little bit more when it comes to adding to the receiver room than Mike Williams, because at the end of the day, Mike Williams still hasn't been able to be the guy who he was before his injury whenever he was with the Chargers. And when you look at all of the options that are out there, and yeah, I'm even talking about DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams near the top of all the options that are out there. There are some more attractive, more impactful options that the Steelers should be going after right now. And Mike Williams might be something that they possibly add down the line if all of those other options fail. But if you go into the season with Mike Williams as your number 2 with George Pickens,
No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that would not be good.
No, I'm totally convinced at this point that it can't be a 2. I think it has to be either a 1A or somebody who's a 1A that pushes George to 1B. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I really think that's where this has to go. Chris, thanks for the time as always. Get busy over there on the hockey coverage. We'll be connecting you and I Monday for the non-tampering, tampering, legal, illegal, whatever it is that the NFL calls it.
It'll be fun.
And for the rest of us, hang around for a minute here. We had ourselves a week here. Now, first off, to start off, I just have to say thank you to everybody who just watched the show. And I have to say thank you to everybody who gave feedback in one direction or the other. It wasn't universal that everyone would like that we went live. I heard from a couple of people that said that they liked the more polished version or whatever. That's fine. But the sentiment was overwhelmingly in favor. And I hope we haven't let you down in terms of the way we present that, the way we get your questions up there, the way we get your comments up there, the feedback, the way we discuss those. We do want this to be your show. And yes, that includes whenever stuff happens that isn't Steelers. One more time, this is Pittsburgh. Same first name, same set of colors, only place in the world that has that. So if you're Shaka Steele and you send me this, will the Crosby contract affect TJ Watt? Crosby? There's only one Crosby in Pittsburgh. What did you think I was thinking when I read that? I got it eventually. You're talking about Max Crosby. But I mean, don't be put off whenever we talk about other stuff. That's how it is here. And one of the things that we hear a lot from people who aren't in Pittsburgh is they like feeling that connection to home. Well, home is really, really into hockey. And depending on how the baseball team goes, it's occasionally really, really into baseball. We'll see how that goes with the pitching this summer and the abject lack of hitting. We are currently at, do you have the number of subscribers? Yeah. Look at that, 886. Now, we started this week at 751. That's the pace that we're on here. I know some of you have been asking for that number, but that's it. From 751 to 886, I haven't had nearly enough coffee to do the math on that, but it's pretty nice. It's like 130 something, right? And that gets us in this fairly dead time of the year, certainly for football. It gets us moving in a nice, healthy pace to where we get to, next week, free agents and everything else that starts coming. That's a big community builder, if you will. I want to thank a couple of people here specifically. Lyle Kropp for being a member for 22 months. Brent Haynes for the same thing. And then Brent felt like celebrating it by committing 5 gift memberships. And those count toward this too. Gift memberships, for anybody who doesn't know, don't worry about it. If you don't have one, it'll come in. The YouTube mechanism will come in and automatically give it to you or not. There's no control of it on any end, but they do get utilized. They don't stay permanent, though. I think they only hold up for like 3 months or something like that. So listen, come on aboard, dkps.net/join. And when you join us again on Monday, tampering, non-tampering, Justin Fields, the whole deal. We'll see how all that shakes out, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun doing it live. And tell Robert what he missed. Okay, come on, Robert. You can show up at the end of the show and ask what you missed. I'll see you guys on Monday.